grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B., and I am a son of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and a qualifying addict living in the miracle of one day at a time recovery. And I'm here with the intelligent agent, my sister, and the spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Nikki, say hi and introduce yourself.
Hi, I forgot to hit OK on the recording. I forgot to hit unmute, and here I am. Why am I being weird? I'm Nikki M, and I'm really high on God dope. We had 148 souls this morning on, our service meeting. That is a service meeting, everybody. The Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting, 9 a.m. Monday morning. Justin puts it in the show notes. Please give your seventh, because that's the meeting for this family where we come in and we really just talk about the big book. So I'm just grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for everybody who's seeking a spiritual solution to a spiritual problem, because, Justin, there's a lot of people who are too human right now. And so let's get into what's happening in our world right now. I'm excited to be here because what's happening in your life and my life is what's happening in everybody's life, or vice versa. So we can all help each other today. I'm just excited. I'm grateful. And don't forget to give your seventh.
Thank you, Nikki. And yes, to anybody out there who has not attended one of the live Noodle meetings, like she said, 148 people in there shotgunning a whole bunch of questions and experience, strength, and hope. That the chat is active and busy with all sorts of really good stuff, and the commentary, the questions are very powerful and right out of the big book. So if you haven't done that, check it out. The link is in the show notes. And once again, she said it's Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So 6 a.m. Pacific, and if you're in the UK, that's 5 p.m. I think in the UK. So just do all figured out. Go jump in on one of those meetings. They're really cool. All right. This is an extension of that meeting. It's just me bringing a question from my life, from people's lives that I work with, from the Noodle chat, from the Noodle meeting, whatever. We're bringing these questions and doing a little bit more of a deep dive. Instead of only having a few minutes to address each question, we're diving in for 15 or 20 minutes as we go through this and seeking solution from the big book. So grab your big book, get ready to flip around to all sorts of pages and make some highlights and notes and start applying these principles in all your affairs, because, man, don't we need to apply these principles in all our affairs. Nikki, today I am going to bring an experience from my own life, something that happened last night, and I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable here, and I know that my wife is okay with me sharing these things in this setting. The relationship between my wife and my family of origin has been very strained for almost 30 years. I mean, we've been together for almost 30 years, and it's been very strained for that long. And there have been boundaries, and I know boundaries is not a word that's put up in the big book, but there have been boundaries set, very firm boundaries set by my wife and on the rules of these things. Anyways, there is an upcoming family reunion there's a lot of complications around that. And I try and live my life with people with no expectations, having zero expectations of how they're going to respond, how they're going to behave in these things. And I had an experience with that last night that kind of turned around and bit me in the butt. I had no expectations that my wife was going to want to participate in this and have anything to do with it. And last night she said, I can't believe that you just made the decision that I wasn't going to participate in that without even talking to me. The assumption you made hurts me and makes me quite upset is basically that thing. So Nikki, what I'd like to dive into and see what the book says is, how do I have clarity between not setting expectations, not saying, hey, this is how I want people to react or respond in whatever situation it is, versus making an assumption that is going to cause harm in that assumption. Nikki, what does the book say?
Well, I'm glad I'm getting these details because, as Justin said, we don't really stick to a lot of stories or details in the meeting because we have so many people. We're just trying to get solution out. But that's why we do this deeper dive. And after you had left, because we had only had a couple minutes to hear, but now that I'm hearing more, that this is a lot of history there, right? This is an ongoing situation. And when you left, we have someone and who's a big part of our Rico 12 family, Miss Liza Love. She's done a lot of work for Rico 12 and been on your recordings, done some podcasts and recordings. So when you left, she had taken, she said, this is for Justin. And it was for someone else in the meeting, but she said, this applies to what Justin shared too. And it's on page 127. So let's turn there first, because we'll get to the no expectations, of course. But here it is, and let's go deeper. You and your wife are both in program. So you both have the toolkit. So really, I mean, keep your finger on page 127, but I'm just going to read this real quick to you, Justin, which maybe you and Heather can discuss, you and your wife can discuss later, which is this. Sorry, it's on page 25. There was nothing left for us, me and my husband, me and my kids, me and my workplace, but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. So now you and your wife are having this discussion. She says, it's very much hurt me. Maybe this is the time to always say, let's lay out the simple kit of spiritual tools. I mean, that's just to start, because you both speak this language, right? So you could lay out a cool, like, what would our program say? What would God? I know you both use that word. I know you both live in a family unit that's driven by a relationship with God. So let's just start there. And in order to get there, we really have to remember to pause. Right? It would really be practicing the pause, because someone's agitated. So now you've said something, you've had an expectation, an assumption, and now wife, husband, children, whoever it is, your boss out there, people in our podcast land, you need to pause because you've heard some information. It might make you agitated, doubtful. So we pause. We remember that we have a spiritual toolkit. Now we go back to page 127, which says, as each member of a resentful family, so there's some resentment going on in the family, as a member, as a member in a resentful work environment, right? The family, the work environment begins to see, you're seeing your shortcomings, because you already know, Justin, you have to take your own inventory. You're seeing your wife's shortcoming, or your children, or your employees, or your employers, and you admit it to yourself, to others. And you lay a basis for a helpful discussion. Sometimes it's acknowledging, I hear what you're saying, right? Like, that's helpful. I hear, repeating back. I mean, that's just an exercise I think they give people in therapy and counseling. And I don't like those words, like where the medical professionals go. I'm about big book, but I think acknowledging what was just said to you, right? Does that make sense? Acknowledging what your wife has just said and saying, let's lay out our spiritual toolkit and have a helpful discussion, right? These family talks will be constructive if they can be carried on without heated arguments. So you're not allowed to argue. No self-pity. Oh, I've just upset my wife. What did I say? What did I do? You're not allowed to do that. That line out should go to page 133. It's an opportunity to practice the principles to demonstrate God's omnipotence. Anytime there's trouble, it's always an opportunity to practice. Self-justification. After I finish this, I'll have you come in, Justin. One of my favorite speakers, used to be Bob D out of Vegas, Nevada, California. Bob D. He's awesome, a circuit speaker. He said, if you have to justify, rationalize, or explain anything, no, you are wrong. Because you never have to justify, rationalize, or explain what is right. This is radical. Page 87, see where religious people are right. Justin and I have a friend. His name is Yeshua. And he was accused of a bunch of things. And when they said to him, you say you're the king of the Jews. You say you're the son of God. He didn't defend himself. He didn't justify it. He didn't rationalize it. He just said, if that's what you say, I am. Now that's a game of telephone. They could be misquoting him, Justin. But you understand where I go here, because the rest of that sentence says, without justification or resentful criticism. So I don't know how the conversation went once your wife said something to you, right?
Yeah. And I think that self-justification right there, I'm getting some clarity here in the assumption, self-justification. When it was brought up, I was like, but this is how it's been for almost 30 years. I didn't want to expect that anything would be different. And then I was like, I assumed that nothing would ever change, And this is where I was convicted, stabbed in the side, basically, was when she said, you are treating me just like the spouses are treating the men that you work with that frustrate you so bad when they say, hey, you will never change, and I'm going to treat you as if you were, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because I don't think that no matter what work you're doing in your recovery, it's going to change. So I'm going to keep bringing up the past. And she said that I was treating her that same way. And that really hit me. I was like, oh, I am. And I don't want to do that. As you showed this page 127 to me, I flipped over and looked a little bit ahead on page 128. And this is what I'm experiencing last night and this morning, I think. At the top of 128, assume, on the other hand, that Father has, at the outset, a stirring spiritual experience. Overnight, as it were, he is a different man. And I'm going to pause there, because this experience last night it was like a 2x4 upside the head of, wow, you're making assumptions that nothing's going to change and disguising it as you are not having any expectations. You're being good in this by not having expectations and not wanting to try and manipulate or force your wife to do something that you, quote unquote, know she would never do. And the assumption was damaging, where the expectation, or the guise of the expectation, was I thought I was being helpful and kind in that. So, Nikki, what can I learn in this?
Well, go down a little further as you're on page 128. What can we learn? We need to get David G back at the table and muck up to the wives for our line by line podcast. That's what we've learned right now. This is a huge chapter. The family afterwards, to the wife, to the codependent, to the spouse. But here it says a little further down, dad is not so spiritual after all, they say. Maybe that's what wife is saying. Like, it's go down a little further, because it says they often forget Father was beyond human aid, blah, blah, blah. But it's like here, like your wife is saying, like, you're doing what your sponsees do. Husband, you're not so spiritual after all, she may say. If he means to right his past wrongs, Why all this concern for everyone in the world but his family? And as I said to you, Justin, you and I are real spearheads. We come out here, look at us, we're the spearheads of this and that. We can lead people but our blind spot can be right next to my Mr. Luxembourg. My friend told me the way you talk to him is awful. I just couldn't see it, Justin. Because I'm like nice to everybody but the man I love. It's my blind spot. It's my real, real, real blind spot. Here it is too. I heard as you were speaking when you said that, it's like my son, he's 21. I haven't met his girlfriend yet. He's been dating her. They just moved in. And I have to remember that my behavior, page 83, will convince my son more than my words. I have to remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness, of acting out behavior, of losing my mind would make a skeptic out of anyone. I have said some things to my son and done some things to my son. He's probably nervous to bring his girlfriend around me. He still comes by himself, but I have to remember, and I don't take it personally when he's ready. I've said some things, I'm again assuming. I'm assuming Justin maybe doesn't want to bring her around because I said some things about during COVID, the vaccines, all these things and blah, blah, blah. And maybe he'll think that will start an issue. I don't know. Again, the assumption. But again, go deeper. Just like you're saying to your wife, I'm not that person I was so long ago. I'm like to my son, I'm a different person. To my daughter, we had her on here. My daughter can say, yes, I'm a different person. Maybe my son he's 12 years younger than her. He's only 21. It may take him a little longer to see the change. So he's a big skeptic. Maybe your wife is seeing a little bit of old behaviors. And she's like, exactly what we said, like on page 128, there's like, for everybody else, you're like this spearhead to everyone in the world but his wife. What about his talk that God will take care of them? They suspect father is a bit balmy. Maybe your wife is going, well, and then, we can roll over to page 118 too, Justin, where it says this, you and your wife will find, this is the top paragraph, Justin, you and your wife will find that you can dispose of serious problems easier than you can trivial ones. I know recently you had some serious issues with, you have new grandbaby and there was some, things in the hospital. Those are serious issues. Heather has to take off work and you guys have to go down and see this and all these things that you guys had to do. And now the little things like this 30-year problem of your family, you see, like the trivial things. My little line out says, little stuff eats my soul. It's the little things. So that, you and your wife could go, I know that was a big drive and changing things around for the new baby. And this was a little family crisis. And you guys were together, super Grambo. That's Rambo and Grandma combined. I know your wife is Grambo. Okay, Grambo. And I know you're Grandpa. Okay, like you guys are just Rambo grandparents. But this little family, this little gnawing for 30 years about the family discourse. And so here's what you need to do, because you know this. It says, next time you and your wife have any sort of heated discussion, no matter what the subject, and let's just put that in there, around your family, because it's your family, Justin, no matter what. It's a privilege to smile and look at your wife. And I can just see it because everybody, hi, I'm Nikki M. I'm a hardcore fantasy addict. And I see Justin, he looks like he's 12. He's like this blonde hair, blue-eyed guy. And he's a grandpa. And I just see your little beautiful face walking up to your beautiful wife. I don't even know what she looks like. And grabbing her hand, looking at her and going, honey, this is getting serious. I know how you feel. And, I don't want you to be disturbed. I don't want to be disturbed. I love you. Do you want to discuss this later? Or what do you need from this? Do you want to talk about it later? Because it says, let's talk about it later. So ask her, because she's in program. She has the language. She has the tools. What do you need? Hold her, love her. See, if you, Justin, are trying, and Justin and I don't try, we do. We're students of Yoda. We do or do not. We live on a spiritual basis, not perfect, progressing every day. We are not saints. We will make mistakes. Justin's going to be doing everything in his power to avoid disagreement or contention with his wife. Why? Justin's looking for God deep down inside every man, woman, and child. He's looking for the God inside his wife. Just let me hold you. Do you see this fantasy? And then, of course, I could jump into the, they run off into the bedroom and make sweet love, and it's all what? Okay, don't go there. Stop with my Harlequin romance. Jump in, Justin.
Nikki, I'm so grateful that we're walking through this. And I'm making mad notes and highlights and stuff, and just grateful for this because it's needed. And I don't know this for a fact yet, but Heather and I were recently asked to do a combined, a co-presentation in a conference, in a recovery conference here in April. And we haven't yet decided exactly how we're going to go about it. I think we may take this experience and make it into some sort of workshop. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what she says. But this is just the thoughts I'm having right now. And man, so helpful. And the concept of, where was it here? I think it was on the 128, page 128, as I go back. It's just this idea that overnight I can be a different person. Overnight she can be a different person. We can have these awakenings that shift our perspective from what we thought was the right way, what we thought was truth, what we thought was this, to a new perspective. And I think that's, man, where am I going with this, Nikki? And I apologize to anybody out there for the ramblings on this. It's just such a powerful and in the moment thing for me right now. But it's like, I thought I knew what this tree looked like, but I've only come at it from this one direction. And I see it in its glory in this one direction. But as I get shifted to 90 degrees, the tree looks totally different. It's still the same tree, but there's changes to it, and that's what this is. I'm seeing more of the tree.
Well, and you're taking me. Let me just jump in here as I interrupt you, because I hear you and your mind's blowing, and I'm watching you. And it's this, page 164. God will disclose more. So more is, or it says more is, will reveal more, whatever it says. I'm not even opening my book right now. And that's what's happening. Like, imagine, is everyone hearing this? A couple that has been on this journey of love for 30 years. And I know there were moments when, Heather wanted out, and up and downs and ins and outs and ups and downs. And now it's again, like, even this little thing is going to be your greatest asset. It's going to help somebody. Page 124. You just said you can use it at this conference to serve other people. Take these page numbers, put it into action live for people. Maybe you even reenact it. That's fun too, Justin, with you and your wife on the stage. But it can go deeper. And then it's like, and then, we could end it here too, which is like, yes, more will be disclosed. But Justin just said, like, it's page 420. Because you talked about, hi, I'm Justin and I'm Mr. Expectations. I have my old expectations, my old ideals, my old belief systems kind of creeping into my new ideals, my new belief systems. So again, zero expectations. Today's a new day. It says, I'm never to just sit and do nothing while waiting for God, these spiritual principles, to tell me what to do. I do the next right thing. So the next right thing, according to our big book, definitely with this situation, and anybody out there, you've had a disturbance with someone you love, someone you care about. Maybe you don't even like them, but it's someone at work. You have to do the next right thing. You never just sit and do nothing. So we're here discussing it. We're going to take actions. I think, again, like, well, I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to whatever. What does our wife need right now? What does that coworker need right now? Because the instruction really, page 67, is that Justin is to disregard his wife entirely. Where is he at fault? Where is he to blame? And then if you go down further on that, I think it's page 67. It's in the instructions of the fourth step. It says, "What should I have done instead?" And you're going to do that instead. You should not have assumed. So we're not going to do that anymore. You see, it's like, and then we just keep growing. And then we just trudge the happy road of destiny together. This is going to be great when you listen back to it, Justin. Sometimes I'll listen to our recordings back in the hot tub and I'll be like, who was that? What are we doing here? This is awesome. I need to follow these instructions.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Nikki, this has been so helpful for me. Thank you for allowing me and encouraging me to walk through this with you and doing this first person. It's I encourage anyone out there who has a question like this, go to check out the recordings we've done in the past. We've addressed a ton of questions, and if one of them applies to what you're dealing with in your life, give it a listen and apply those principles. Just like what Nikki said, man, I need to do this in my own life. Apply these principles, and the promises are listed in the big book. You will receive whatever the promise is to those questions as you apply those principles. That's my experience. That's my strength. That's my hope. And I've found that as I work it, it works. And I found that I'm worth it, and so are you.